tonight.
Oh, okay. Susan's responsibility. There, apparently.
Is that you? Yep, that's me.
I wish you could see him over the console. Last night I had a problem seeing him over the console. I don't know. I didn't want to push my luck. First, bad.
They got you wrong.
You're good to go.
Welcome, citizens of Stockton and San Joaquin County. This is a candidate forum for the November election for the position of San Joaquin County Superintendent of Schools. The League of Women Voters of San Joaquin County is sponsoring this forum, and we thank the City of Stockton for allowing us to use these chambers and to videotape this event. My name is Mary Bava, and I'm the moderator for the forums this evening. The forum will be 45 minutes. Candidates will have 1 minute each for their opening statement, 2 minutes for their closing comments, and 1.5 minutes to respond to each question from a panelist. A timekeeper, our timekeepers, will keep track of the time, raising placards when there is 1 minute left, 30 seconds left, and 15 seconds left, and then stop when time is up. Panelists will pose the same question to each candidate. Each candidate will have a chance to answer first in rotation. For example, candidate A will answer question 1 first, candidate B will answer question 2 first, and so on. Candidates have already drawn numbers to determine the order for the opening and the closing statements. We ask the audience members to hold applause until the forum is completed. There are many here who support one of the candidates. And if there is applause after each time the candidate speaks, we'll have a lot less time for questions to be answered. I promise that at the end we can show our appreciation to the candidates and the forum participants, and we will be able to applaud. We ask you to be respectful to our candidates and the audience, and to turn off all cell phones. As we get started, I would like to introduce our panelists for the evening. First, I will introduce Bobby Bivens. He is the president of the Stockton chapter of the NAACP. Pam Mallett-Jones, who is a member of the American Association of University Women. And Bill Loico, who is a member of the League of Women Voters of San Joaquin County, the Stockton chapter. Our candidates are Jeff Tilton and James Mousalimas, and the names are all marked to help us as we go along. We'll start with opening statements. The candidate to make his opening statement first will be Mr. Tilton. You have 1 minute.
Thank you, and thanks to the League for hosting this event and for the City of Stockton for also for providing the facility. I am Jeff Tilton. I am an educator, still consider myself a teacher, although I've held many roles in my nearly 30-year journey as an educator, a teacher, a high school principal, an athletic director, a coach, and now a superintendent of charter schools. My campaign is based on 4 particular areas, and that is to create safer schools, to enhance vocational education for our youth in the county to make sure we have a prepared workforce, and to support parental involvement, parental choice, to where families have a choice to send their sons or daughters regardless of where they live. And then finally, to help with the San Joaquin County Office of Education in making it more transparent and accountable. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mousalimas.
Thank you, Mary, and to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. I'm James Mousalimas. I'm currently the Deputy Superintendent with San Joaquin County Office of Education. I graduated from UC Berkeley and with a degree in economics, and soon after that I went into the Peace Corps 29 years ago in West Africa as a high school teacher and coach. And since then I've been in education, and I think I have a track record of success. And that's why I put my resume outside. I hope that you will pick one up on the way out. Whoever is elected to this position will then be charged with running the San Joaquin County Office of Education. We are a large organization, almost 2,000 employees, multi-million-dollar budgets. And the staff, the students, and the community deserve good leadership, strong leadership, and someone with a record of success, and that's something that I can bring. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Now we will begin with the questions, and we'll start with Mr. Bivens, and the first candidate to answer the question is Mr. Mousalimas.
Okay. In your view, what has the County Office of Education done well over the past 5 years, and what has the county office done poorly that you would change?
Yeah, how long do I have?
1.5 minutes.
1.5 minutes, okay. So first of all, one of the things I'm most proud of that when I came to the county office 2008 from Trace Unified School District, where I spent 10 years, I directed the establishment and opening of the Building Futures Academy Charter School Youth Build. In fact, we have some of our current and students and graduates from that program. It's something that I'm most proud of about our organization. We serve 16 to 24-year-old at-risk youths in this community, and we work hard to get them a high school diploma or a GED, but we also have partnerships with local trade unions to get them hired as apprentices and get them a job. What I am determined to change is we've gotten away from serving our 14 school districts in partnership. We've been competing with our local school districts for the last really 3.5, 4 years, and that will change immediately if I'm elected. That's why I currently have the endorsement and support of 12 of the 14 current school district superintendents in San Joaquin County. They have the confidence that if I'm elected, that my first day in office, that I'm going to reach out to them and work in partnership to better serve the 140,000 public school students in this county. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tilton.
Yeah, thank you. I think that the county office the last 5 years has done wonders with respect to serving kids. And I think that starts based on the one program that I helped co-found with Mick Founts back in 1994. It continues to grow, it continues to thrive, and actually programs have branched off because of the successes of the one program, including Venture Academy, which I'm proud to say that will be up for renewal next week to keep that charter school going. The things that I would see that need to change are the spirit of accountability and transparency with the county office. The county office has a huge budget. It's a secretive budget. We don't know what it says. It's hard to understand it. I think I understand budgets, but if you look at the budget book, it's really difficult. And there needs to be an opportunity for the public to understand what that $250 million really does and goes for and how it gets there. And additionally, the things that really need to be addressed and looked at are things like nepotism, favoritism, cronyism, those types of things. And when you're using taxpayer dollars, especially the amount that it has, should not be treated lightly. Thank you.
Thank you. Our second question will come from Pam Mallett-Jones, and it will be addressed to Mr. Tilton. I'll just remind everyone to please speak into the microphone carefully. We're doing great so far, but thank you.
Okay, one of the goals of the American Association of University Women is to provide educational opportunities for girls and women, and by extension, boys and men as well. With that in mind, are you aware of examples where Title IX is not fully implemented? And how do you see the superintendent's role in the implementation of Title IX to ensure equal opportunity for girls throughout the grade levels?
Well, I can't address where I've not seen Title IX implemented. I can tell you this, if there are areas that, especially in the leadership as a county superintendent of schools, that it would need to be addressed. Being a parent, I understand, and having 2 stepdaughters, I understand the importance of Title IX and the implementation of it. And it goes across the entire spectrum of the equality. And essentially, the things that I would address would be head-on with respect to the imbalance of Title IX implementation. So, thank you.
Mr. Mousalimas.
I think what we do know clearly is that girls are not going into the STEM field, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We're not doing a good job in public education of encouraging and really directing girls into these fields. And that's why we are currently establishing a STEM center, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, at the County Office of Education that I think is not only going to be the best in San Joaquin County, one of the best in the state. We've recruited a teacher from Tracy High School that I work with, Kirk Brown, who was recognized as the State Science Teacher of the Year and the Millikan National Science Teacher for the United States, and he is heading up our STEM Center. And we're doing amazing work and just getting started. And if I'm elected, that will be a focus for us and an area that we need to improve, that we know that's where the jobs are going to be in the 21st century, in STEM. And so we have to make sure that girls are fully represented in entering those fields. And to do that, we have to provide better quality STEM education from K through 12. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next question from Mr. Loico for Mr. Mousalimas.
Thank you. Local school districts in San Joaquin County serve a diverse student population. There continues to be wide achievement gaps among and between these populations. How do you believe the county office can assist local districts to close those gaps?
Great question. And I think there's an opportunity before us, and that's with what's called now the local control funding formula. It's a dramatic change in how public schools are funded. It's a change from almost 40 years of doing business as usual to now giving local school districts and communities more autonomy and more authority over how they spend their dollars, and they also get additional dollars locally to better serve the needs of English learners, so second language students, students in poverty, and foster youth. And I am absolutely in support of this. I think that local control, local decision making is much better than having the state telling local districts how to best meet the needs of their students. We at the County Office of Education have oversight on what's called the Local Control Accountability Plan. Each district will submit that to us at the county office, and we will review it based on a rubric that the state will provide. They haven't provided that rubric yet, but they will this coming year. And so our role will be to ensure that local school districts are getting the input and involvement of the entire community in making decisions to best serve the needs of all students. So I'm optimistic about this, but I believe that it will only be effective and work if we all, the County Office of Education and all local school districts, engage and involve the local community in these decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tilton.
Yeah, a very similar response. The difference that I'll add to that is essentially that we need to create opportunities for, and I'll just say, competition. And one of those avenues is charter schools. Again, I get back to my stance on parental choice. The charter schools were put into place for grassroots purposes and also to create competition. The difference, however, and if we're really putting the pressure on, if charter schools don't perform, charter schools close. They're just like a business. And they have to show growth, show performance in order to stay open. The same cannot be said for schools and districts. I think that we need to really look at that, and the county office could provide leadership and support and not be such a compliance agency with respect to the local control accountability plan. I think that the county office should serve as a guide in helping schools, and I say schools, charter schools and school districts, to implement their local control accountability plan so they can close those achievement gaps. The things that we really need to look at as well is growth. The achievement gaps may close, but we need to make sure that our high-achieving students are still challenged to grow as well. So, you know, he's talking about closing the achievement gap. Sometimes that connotes that one of the areas has to stop growing, and we can't allow that to happen. So, thanks.
Our next question will come from Mr. Bivens and be addressed to Mr. Tilton.
Okay. The undereducation of minority students along with the disproportionate expulsions of minority students, have a direct correlation to crime in our community. What creative plans do you have to change how discipline is handled equitably, and what specifically do you plan to do to address the problem as the superintendent of schools?
Again, you know, each school district and charter school are empowered to run their own entities. The county office can serve as a leadership role in guiding and providing best practices, providing opportunities for schools and districts to see what's available out there, what has been used to implement programs to thwart these types of trends. One of the things I'm proud to say is that, you know, I mentioned earlier that I've co-founded the One program with Mick Founds, a program that helped youth who otherwise would have been without schools. Kids who were expelled, kids who are juvenile felons, homeless, and truants. And it wasn't just, we discovered really early, within a year, that we were no different than any other continuation high school. We needed to do something to make a change. We needed students to be able to recognize who they are before they're going to change. And one of the ways that we did that was hire very caring staff, because kids don't care until they know that you care. And I think that model, as it's nationally renowned, and it continues today, and it continues to grow, and other programs are growing from it, is a great program that can be emulated, and not just throughout California, but in our districts as well. So that's where the county office could provide that leadership. And I'm a huge proponent of alternative education and putting students in opportunities to succeed, regardless of their plight.
Thank you, Mr. Tilton. Mr. Mousalimas.
Thank you. The state recently just voted, as of January 1st, 2015, that school districts no longer expel under an education code that talks about willful defiance or disruption. And so that puts additional responsibility on all of us in education to find alternatives for students that are acting out in class, because typically they're acting out, it's a symptom of something, and we have to work together to try to identify that. Things like peer counseling and restorative justice, things like this. We know that this works. We have to reach out and do more of that. I think the programs that we offer at the County Office of Education are outstanding examples. As I mentioned, Youth Building Futures Academy. These are students that have either dropped out of school, they may have been expelled from school, and we have found ways to get them back in the classroom and then train them for the job market. I think we need to do more of that. I think we've gotten away from vocational education, and I think we've done a disservice to many students. Many students in high school used to come to school for their shop class, their music class, their art class, and we have eliminated many of those programs. We have to bring those back to engage students and keep them interested in education, and then through that find the avenue and the path for success for them and for all students. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question will come from Ms. Mallett-Jones and will be addressed to Mr. Mousalimas.
There's currently a lot of discussion and controversy all over the nation concerning teacher tenure. How do you think teacher performance should be evaluated, and what are some of the challenges inherent in evaluating teachers?
Great question. And let me start off saying this. I was the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources at Trace Unified School District for 3 years before coming to the county office. A large district, close to 2,000 employees, about 17,000 students. And so I did the hiring and releasing of new and probationary teachers. And I don't think that our current system works. I think it does a disservice to students, but I also think it does a disservice to teachers, because when a teacher comes in new as a new hire, new to the profession, you don't have 2 years, you only have a year and a half to evaluate that teacher and make a decision whether or not they're going to become permanent status teacher. And I know that there were times that we released teachers that if they had had more time, because we know it takes about 5 years to become an accomplished teacher, but we only give them a year and a half to prove themselves. So I would like to see, at a minimum, that time frame extended. I think that would be excellent. As far as evaluation of teachers, I think that goes back to local control. I think that local school districts and working with the community and teachers should develop rigorous and fair evaluation systems, but you need to do that in partnership with all involved. And that was something I worked hard as the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources in ensuring that we had good positive relationships with all of our teachers and staff, because the only way we're going to improve education is to work together.
Thank you. Mr. Tilton.
Have the question repeated, please?
Oh, that's me. There is currently a lot of discussion and controversy all over the nation concerning teacher tenure. How do you think teacher performance should be evaluated, and what are some of the challenges inherent in evaluating teachers?
Well, the challenge is, under the current structure, quite frankly, in many cases, it's subjective. And very little data are used to help support the evaluation processes. With respect to performance, I think what we need to do is look at how businesses operate. You perform, you're compensated, you're rewarded, et cetera, and you continue to grow. And in many cases, you can use those folks as models and mentors and guides to help grow your human resources. And if they're not successful, then maybe they need to look at a different career. And that's after exhausting a lot of other interventions as well. But with respect to performance and using that as a gauge for whether or not they're successful or not, I think we do need to look at a variety of data. And performance data such as how your students are performing, are they growing, are they showing growth over time? And we cannot just rely, and I really support the bargaining units that are fighting using assessment data to determine whether or not a teacher is effective or not, because the test scores that we use now currently are essentially autopsy scores. It doesn't really do anything to help us improve the instruction on a daily basis. So, thanks.
Thank you. Our next question will be for Mr. Loico and addressed to Mr. Tilton.
Thank you. Although the Common Core standards have been adopted by 45 states, including California, there is still much criticism regarding their age-level appropriateness. What is your experience and perspective of the Common Core standards as now being implemented in California?
Well, California has always had one of the highest set of standards, regardless if it was Common Core or academic. In California's academic content standards were actually used as a guide in many cases for the current Common Core standards themselves. And I think that the number is lower than that now, because some of the states have stopped using Common Core. In one state in particular, they stopped using it, gave it a new name, but it was essentially the same Common Core standards. But the Common Core, the misconception is that it's a program. It's not a program. It's a set of standards. And each school district or charter school, whatever the situation is in whatever state, they're still empowered to use the curriculum to work toward the Common Core standards. And one of the reasons why Common Core is in place is because, and when I was working for the Northwest Evaluation Association, an international not-for-profit research organization, it went out and did studies all over the nation to show that every state is not created equally. So as an example, and one of the reasons that's the case is because every state had different standards, and every state used different measures to measure the effectiveness of those standards. So for example, a student who might be a third grade proficient reader in Idaho, based on their standards and their assessment, moves to Idaho, and based on Idaho's standards and assessment, may not be proficient. So something had to happen to support the inequity across the nation. And right now we have the Common Core. Is it the right answer? It remains to be seen.
Thank you. Mr. Mousalimas.
Thank you. So I think it's too soon to evaluate the Common Core state standards. And they are standards. It's not a curriculum. There's a lot of misconceptions about the Common Core. But the student assessment that goes along with it was piloted last year, and those data will not be used to evaluate the Common Core, how students are doing. So this year's implementation will be the first real data that we do get that then next year we can look at and begin to evaluate how we're doing. But like with any new initiative, it takes time. It takes training. We have to continue to invest in teacher training. We ask teachers to take on new standards and implement this, well, we have to support them and make sure that we're training. And that's where County Office of Education is so critical, because that's a big part of what we do. We have our curriculum and assessment, curriculum instruction department, and we do extensive trainings both at the county office and also out at school sites to support teachers in the implementation of the Common Core standards. We also have our Teachers College of San Joaquin, the only teachers college in the state of California that's run by a County Office of Education, that is also providing support and assistance and training to teachers and educators, administrators also, in the implementation of the Common Core state standards. So it's too soon at this point, but it is mandated by the state, and we will continue to go down this road, and in my opinion, we need to do the best job we possibly can of implementation to best serve our students.
Our next question will be from Mr. Bivens and will be addressed to Mr. Mousalimas.
Okay. The county has a large number of migrant workers. The education of migrant school children lacks continuity. How will you, as superintendent of schools, address this issue for quality education for migrant children in San Joaquin County?
Well, we at the county office have had the migrant education regional program for a number of years, but it has continued. It's a federally funded grant program. It has continued to shrink these past years. In fact, the year before last, the funding was cut almost by 50% by the federal government. This is based on numbers of students who are children of migrant workers, and that's what it is based on. What we want to ensure that we're doing, Bobby, is that we are reaching out to the families of these children and doing everything that we can to support them. But to do that, we also work with our school districts, and that's where those partnerships with our school districts are so critical, because we have our migrant employees that work at school districts on their sites and work with families. And if we don't have those positive relationships with our school districts, then we aren't doing as good a job as we should be doing. So I think that will help us, and we'll work hard to improve those programs and ensure that we're offering absolute best services to migrant families that we can.
Thank you, Mr. Tilton.
Sure, thanks. A very similar response in that we need to work as a county office and as superintendent to work with the school districts and the charter schools to provide support in that. One area that's left out of that, however, and that I want to bring in is the relationships with business and industry. We have great agencies in this county that are geared and you know, the mission is to support a variety of individuals in this county. I can think of El Concilio as one to help support the migrant education, working together with those particular agencies. Business and industry is the employers of the individuals that the parents are working at to help support that, to really reach out, provide educational opportunities for the migrant parents if there needs to be a situation like that. I think we need to really be open to ideas, have folks come to the table, use the powerful brain trust that we have in this county to create and support those particular programs.
Thank you. Our next question will come from Pam Mallett-Jones and be addressed to Mr. Tilton.
Mr. Tilton, what programs or incentives should the county superintendent provide to school districts to address the problems of childhood obesity, and in contrast with those who come to school hungry?
Yeah, that's a big and that's a real issue on both of them, actually. The county could take a huge role, and especially it already has a branch of healthy services that can really accentuate the situation by working with the school districts and providing programs and opportunities for the students who are in the areas of being obese or coming to school hungry. The thing that we have to also do as well is look at tolerance, and you know, how we act, and I'm talking about students, and how we act with one another also needs to be addressed, and how we feel about each other, whether we're coming to school hungry or whether we're coming to school with dirty clothes or things like that. We need to work on our tolerance with respect to not just our students but our staffs, and really look at how can we work together to address these things. And also, you know, the county office, again, needs to provide a leadership role in working with districts. It really does. It really needs to reach out. Moreover, it continues to need to work with agencies, like I said before, of recognizing the brain trust that we have in this county to pull those resources together and to combat the issues.
Thank you. Mr. Mousalimas.
There's a number of things that we can do, and actually that we are doing now. We, through our health services programs, we administer the ACES program, after-school programs, for many of the schools in this county. And so building in physical exercise to those programs is absolutely critical and essential. Another thing, I serve on the Farm Bureau's Ag Education Committee, because I believe in the importance of agricultural education here in San Joaquin County. But also one of the things that we do, and done this on a couple of occasions, is the Ag Education Committee sponsors farmers markets at our local schools. And we've done it here in Stockton and Lodi and other schools. And we go to elementary schools and we bring in fresh produce, fruits and vegetables for the children and families in those communities, and we're trying to educate them not only on agriculture, but on healthy eating habits. I think that's absolutely a wonderful thing that the Farm Bureau sponsors and that we're actively involved with at San Joaquin County Office of Education. I'd like to see more of that, because it's really about, if we need to educate the youngsters and start with healthy eating and healthy habits, so they're not going to the local fast food restaurant, but that they are eating fresh fruits and vegetables. And that's a leadership role that we can take at the County Office of Education, that we are taking, and that we can do even more of.
Thank you. Our next question from Mr. Loico, addressed to Mr. Mousalimas.
Some believe there's a lack of transparency in recent years at the County Office of Education, resulting in questionable expenditures of funds. How do you respond to those concerns, and how would this be different under your administration?
I think those are valid criticisms of, I would say, the past 3.5 years of the County Office of Education, and I have spoken out about many of those things. And I can tell you this: if I am elected, that that will change. I think transparency begins with ethical conduct from the top. And I think that that's been in question the last 3.5 years. And I think if you look at my track record and people that know me and have worked with me at Trace Unified School District and other places know that, that I conduct myself ethically in public education. I'm not saying I always make the right decisions. You know, I wish I could say that. But I always get input from all stakeholders. I work in a very transparent fashion and try to make the best decision possible in an ethical manner. So not just legal, but ethical. And I hope that, my opponent, and when he answers this question, I hope he'll talk about his school district that is, I think is ethically questionable, because they are one of the smallest school districts in this county, yet they have two, not one, but two superintendents, an assistant superintendent and a CBO, and they only directly serve 1,000 students. So I know he's talked about transparency at the county office, but I hope in his answer to this question he'll talk about why he's not addressing those issues at his current district. Thank you.
Well, I'll address those. Number one, the election is not for the New Jerusalem School District Superintendent. That's one. Secondly, I find it really interesting. I didn't know this was going to be a debate, but I find it really interesting that my opponent, who wants to repair relationships with the districts in the county, and continues to attack New Jerusalem. With respect to the question asked, however, I think that we really need to look at, in the areas of transparency, it needs to start from the top, and it really does. And I've talked about looking at how our board meetings would be held. Right now, they're held at noon on Wednesdays, the third Wednesdays of each month, where virtually no one can attend. You know, so an area, if the board doesn't want to change the times, let's film them. Let's have the board meetings taped. If we can do something to really build relationships with our county, is have the board meetings in every city in the county. We need to look at the pay, the compensation of the upper management, the assistant superintendents and deputy superintendents, and the health benefits that they're receiving. Some are currently receiving, which will essentially be for life. Those things need to be addressed. It's the taxpayers are paying for those health services that those individuals are going to be receiving, not only for themselves, but for their dependents.
Thank you. Our next question will come from Mr. Bivens and be addressed to Mr. Tilton.
Okay. The County Office of Education receives a great deal of tax dollars from the feds and all the citizens of San Joaquin County. There are very few African Americans working specifically in management positions. What diversity programs will you and the County Office of Education have for the inclusion of minorities in business and employment with you as the superintendent?
Great question. You know, and I would draw upon my...
Sorry, it's Mr. Tilton's
Oh,
turn
I'm sorry.
right now.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a great question, Mr. Bivens, and I addressed a similar question at the NAACP candidate forum we had last year. The county office is very, very Caucasian with respect to its employees. If you look at the demographics, it doesn't match the demographics of the county, and a lot has to do because of the nepotism that's run rampant through the county office. The favors that folks have been granting other people so they can stay employed, and it tends to show that it tends to be those that are in a Caucasian race. I think if you look at my track record over all the years that I've worked in the programs that I've started, I've hired a very diverse staff. I'm proud of that, and I want to continue to do that should I be elected. That will clearly represent the demographics of the community, but also looking at the skill base. There's very skilled people who are not employed at the County Office of Education because they may have been passed over due to nepotism, and I want to put a stop to that, quite frankly.
Thank you. Mr. Mousalimas.
Okay, now it's my turn.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
So, Bobby, I would draw on my experience from Trace Unified School District. When I got there, it was a city of about 30,000 and quickly grew to a city of 75,000, and the demographics changed dramatically. And it became a priority to hire more employees that reflected the diversity of the community. So some things that I learned and that I would put into place at the County Office of Education. First, I think that we have to develop leaders from within, and that's where our Teachers College of San Joaquin is so valuable. Reach out to the community and youngsters and encourage them and help them get into careers in education, into teaching, and then into administration beyond that, and draw off the diversity of our community here in Stockton and San Joaquin County. I think that's absolutely critical. Another thing that I think is important is to make sure that we have people of color on interview teams. We found that makes a significant difference, and that we draw from within our current staff. And so when we are interviewing, is have a diverse interview team. Found that makes a significant difference. I found that at Tracy Unified. And certainly we are always going to hire the best person to serve students. There's no question about that. But we have a diverse community here in San Joaquin County, and there's no reason that our organization cannot reflect the diversity of San Joaquin County.
Thank you. We will now have the closing statements, and we will start with Mr.
No, we will not start.
Okay.
Now we will start.
Technical excellence, yes. Closing statements are 2 minutes each, and we will start with Mr. Tilton.
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to thank everyone again for attending tonight. I know you've probably had a lot of other things to do, especially if you're a Packers or Vikings fan, but thank you for coming out. I think it's really important that you come out and you listen, you become an educated voter, and remove the emotional part of the whole campaign and all that stuff. I think that it's really important that folks know that I am a local individual. I was raised here. I raised my family here. I understand what it is to be a hardworking individual in this valley. I understand and respect the dollar. I want to protect that dollar, our taxpayer dollars, and do everything that is responsible and fiscally responsible to make sure that we are not abusing the trust that the taxpayers put before us in running such a huge organization with $250 million budgets annually. It's a great responsibility, and you need to have someone in there. And I've already been established as a proven candidate in the successes that I've had going through my career. The other part is I'm prepared. I have a doctorate in education from the University of the Pacific. I'm currently a superintendent. I've graduated from the Superintendent's Academy and the Personnel Academy. I'm prepared for this role. It's the passion, the preparation, and the preparedness that really make me the ideal candidate. I hope that you will see that when you cast your vote starting Monday as we begin what is now called Election Month. And again, thank you very much, everyone, for coming out, and I wish you luck on the choices that you make.
Thank you. Mr. Mousalimas.
So thanks again to the League of Women Voters for,
Sorry.
okay. Okay?
Sorry, I jumped the gun here.
Technology.
Okay, now we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So thanks again to the League of Women Voters for hosting and sponsoring this, this forum. Again, your vote is hiring the next county superintendent of schools who will run the county office of education. And so I encourage everyone as I go around and talk to people to really look thoroughly at our backgrounds as you would if you were interviewing us for a job. We have a lot of challenges in public education ahead of us. We must improve public education, do a better job of educating all students. But we can't no one person can accomplish that. So the county superintendent of schools is a leadership position in this county in education, but each of the 14 school districts and charter schools are autonomous. The superintendent does not have the authority to tell them what to do. The only way to improve and get things done is through partnerships. And I have those partnerships in place. As I mentioned, 12 of the 14 school district superintendents. I have the support of over 6,000 public schools teachers, over 4,000 classified school employees. Those are the food service workers, the secretaries, the bus drivers. If we're going to improve public education, we have to do it together, and we have to be committed to do that. I also have the support of local leaders here in Stockton, people like Michael Tubbs and Moses Zapian, that we can reach out to the council, have the support of board members on Stockton Unified School District, of 3 of the 5 supervisors here. And so outside of, I have a list, a more thorough list. Where that's critical is that from the day, if I am elected, from the first day in office, I can reach out to people and begin to improve public education in this county. I have the support of the leading business people in this county also, because that's a component that's essential to improving public education. So again, thank you, and I ask for your support and vote on November 4th or earlier if you're voting by absentee ballot. Thank you very much.
We are reaching the conclusion of our forum. I would like to, on behalf of the League of Women Voters, thank Ms. Jones, Mr. Bivens, and Mr. Loico for their participation and their good questions. I would like to thank our candidates, Mr. Tilton and Mr. Mousalimas, for attending and answering all of our questions, giving us a chance to know them better. We're very appreciative of that. Again, I'd like to remind everyone to register to vote. You've got till October 20th, and if you have a California driver's license, you can do it on the Secretary of State's website, which is sos.ca.gov. There are voter guides in the lobby in English and Spanish, which we encourage you to look at. Will help you get through the propositions. And these forums will be televised on Channel 97, the public access channel, and on the League YouTube website probably sometime next week. So once again, thank you, and I'm sure the audience would like to thank you as well. Rocky start, but then
You don't have to worry about that.
Good luck to you.
I'm using 30.
oh, 15. Oh, okay.
Tell you that we changed it last.